Hello, my name is Antonio Quirarte.
I'm Natalie Oglian.
And I'm Megan Warnicki.
The title of our presentation is The Effect Verbal and Nonverbal Communication of Student-Faculty Interaction Has on Student Self-Concept, Perception, and Academic Achievement. First, we want to open it up with a quote from Malcolm Forbes. Too many people overvalue what they are not and undervalue what they are. And we want to focus on the undervalue part. This stuck out to us because if you're undervaluing what you are, you're never going to get better at it. And this is going to tie into what we're going to speak about today. So we believe that verbal and nonverbal communication between faculty and students has an effect on the students' perception, their self-concept, and their academic achievement. Our research was done through the Citrus College's database of scholarly articles. So first we want to focus on self-concept. What is self-concept? Well, self-concept is the beliefs one holds about themselves. This could be your self-concept in many things. It could be your having a positive self-concept and that you're a good person. Or it could be negative also. Maybe you have a self-concept of yourself that you're not very smart. So how do you build self-concept? Well, these beliefs are built by everyone around you, from your family, your friends. It could even be a stranger that you met for a brief period of time. Every interaction you have has an effect on you, and it builds your self-concept. And it can be negative or it could be positive. But we're going to talk about academic self-concept. This is a student's perception of their academic ability. Again, it could be positive or negative. It all depends on how these interactions they have in life are. So teachers play a big role in the student's self-concept. They have the ability to interact with the student, and if it's a positive interaction, then this could give the student the belief that they could do better in class, maybe like a positive reinforcement. So we want to talk about academic self-concept. And interactions build a positive self-concept. Students who frequently interacted with faculty express greater satisfaction with their college experience in comparison to students who interacted least. And these interactions between students and teachers could be something simple like a greeting. You could be asking them how they're liking the class. Or it could be more engaging, like a one-on-one session. We know it's hard to have a one-on-one session in class, but maybe you could speak to the student after class. It's still going to have the same impact. So more interactions with teachers equals more engagement. Teachers' involvement showed a growth in academic motivation. So the more you interact with a student, the more they're going to want to put into it. Whatever you give in the form of a positive interaction, you'll get back with engagement, and this is going to help the student a lot. So through our research, we saw academic performance. Teachers' engagement showed positive results. It predicted college performance in their intellectual ability. Their SAT scores went up. Their GPA scores went up. It predicted midterm scores were going to grow up. And so these little interactions you do with your students, it's going to show positive effects. Now I'm going to hand it over to Natalie.
Hi, yeah. So my area of research focused on perception and its relationship to self-concept. So what is perception? Perception is defined as the ways in which we select, interpret, organize, and negotiate data about ourselves and the outside world. And this available information affects our perceptual judgments, as do physiological, cultural, and social and psychological factors. Our perception has the powerful ability to shape who we are. Information we gather about ourselves forms what's called our perceived self, or the person we believe ourselves to be in moments of honest self-examination. It is powerful because it reflects who we are. However, this observation may not always be accurate, as we may believe that we are more or less intelligent than any test would measure. This perceived self may also be our self-concept. Self-concept. And this is because the way we think and feel about ourselves strongly influences how we interpret our behavior and the behavior of others. For example, according to our text, people who have colder personalities struggle more with deciphering and labeling the emotions of others, which may lead to poor quality in student-instructor relationships. Students who have lower confidence levels might think that their instructor does not believe in them by inaccurately reading their emotions. When you don't have high self-confidence, you perform in accordance to the expectation you hold of yourself. So this is what is known as reflected appraisal, or a mirroring of others' judgments. When we have a positive perception of ourselves, chances are that we have formed this positive self-concept from the supportive messages of peers throughout our lives. And if we're overly critical of ourselves, it might be due to the criticism we have received by others growing up, which has caused us to feel less valuable, lovable, or capable. And this set of evaluations warps our perception of ourselves and contributes to a self-fulfilling prophecy when our expectations influence our behavior. And this may have a positive or negative impact on our actions. For example, it's a cycle that has a 4-step process. The first step being holding an expectation for yourself and others. So you might have high self-esteem, and so you have a high expectation for yourself. So the second step would be behaving in accordance with that expectation. So if you have high self-esteem, let's say, and you're a student, you believe that you can succeed. This third step would be the expectation coming to pass. So you perform well because you think that you can do it. And then the fourth step would be reinforcing the original expectation. So because you put in the effort in the class, you got a good grade because you have high self-confidence. And this has a strong effect on one's academic performance, because research shows that our self-concept is positively and powerfully connected to our academic performance. And the study known as Relationships Between Academic Self-Concept and Academic Performance in High School Students tested the correlation between academic self-concept, overall self-concept, and the correlation between academic self-concept, overall self-concept, and academic performance in 363 high school students from 10 high schools. And students were given a special self-concept questionnaire by researchers and a research method known as the self-concept scale to test the students' academic and overall self-concept in relationship with their scores in literature and math. And what researchers found was a high degree of positive, significant association between academic performance and academic self-concept, as well as total self-concept and academic self-concept. So in other words, research shows that an adolescent's confidence in relationship to their academic abilities and overall self-concept has a powerful impact on their academic performance. And this is why it's so important that teachers cultivate a positive and uplifting environment for students in the classroom. It'll go a long way in boosting their self-esteem and their academic scores. And this may begin with positive verbal and nonverbal communication between instructors and students in the classroom, because perception is to nonverbal behavior as behavior is to perception. And here's an example. I'm going to be playing a video for you guys.
Hi, Along to catch up. All right, guys. Today we are going to be observing the behavior of planaria, aka flatworms.
All right, guys. Wait 1 second to get back here. All right. So what just played was a video kind of just displaying how greatly impacted by nonverbal communication. That was a scene from one of the Twilight movies where Bella sees Edward acting in a really weird way, thinks that she smells, when really he just thinks that she's irresistible. I just thought that was a really funny way of showing nonverbal communication and perception. So one huge contributor to, obviously, perception is nonverbal communication. And what is nonverbal communication? It is a way of communicating or sending messages by means of non-linguistic means, which means that you are not using your words to communicate non-verbally. You are instead using your body language, your facial expressions, and your motions, and possibly even like a sigh or something like that. Perception contributes to nonverbal behaviors, kind of how Bella's perception of Edward was based on his nonverbal behaviors. You could have someone else create a perception of someone else based on them yawning while they're telling them a story. They think that they're bored. The other person's actually yawning because they didn't get any sleep the night before. And in tying in with that, is your body language influencing your behavior directly through either powerful or powerless posing? Meaning, if I'm sitting or standing in an open way, powerfully, it could either give me that confidence in my mind, or vice versa. When I'm sitting or standing in a powerless way, I could start to be a little bit more insecure for that same reason. And my research was on the article Perceptions of Nonverbal Communication and Implications for Beginning Conductor Training. And this was basically a study done in a musical classroom where students sort of shared their experience that whenever a new conductor walks into the room, they either immediately form a perception about him or her, or shortly thereafter. It could take a couple minutes, all the way down to maybe 7 seconds, that someone's perception is already formed of their teacher. Okay, and this is because of how ambiguous behaviors can be, or nonverbal communication. So this photo to the right is Robert Downey Jr. and what looks like he's rolling his eyes, which can be misinterpreted in a couple different ways. I think that he is rolling his eyes in a way that he's trying not to fall asleep because he's tired. The next person could think that he is bored and is having an attitude. And then the person after that could think that he has something in his eye and he's trying to get it out without his hands. So you can see how nonverbal communication can just constantly be misconstrued and just totally wrong, okay? Because we still don't know why he's rolling his eyes. All this to say, tying in with self-concept, perception, and nonverbal communication, we hope that, just as Natalie said, we want the teachers, the professors, the conductors to all cultivate a positive environment when they're teaching their students in whatever subject it may be, because in the long run, this is going to affect whether they fail or succeed in life, in the same way that it's going to teach them how to perceive certain things in life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.